kind of crazy that I haven't reviewed shows on my channel before. I mean, I'm much more of a television person than I am a film person. I love movies, and they do capture my heart and my soul, and it definitely is my passion, and I want to eventually make film. But I watch way more television than I do film. I like television a lot more. I can get lost in the characters for more and more hours. Each episode is usually directed by a different director, so it always feels different depending on what show you're watching. I'm a big fan of storytelling and writing, and you can get lost in it, and it can build and build and more. Eventually shows kind of keep going on for too long, and they kind of lose their steam. And we're going to talk about one that I'm kind of starting to feel like might go that way. If it continues, I don't know. We're talking right now about Sherlock. The BBC series, not the American version. I would never watch that. Specifically Sherlock Season 4. I'll recap what I kind of feel really quick on the first three. Seasons 1 and 2 are excellent. I think everyone should go and watch it. I'm pretty sure they're still on Netflix, so if you have a Netflix account, I definitely recommend it. It would take you about, I don't know, let's say about 9 hours, so basically you could watch the first 2 seasons in the span of what you'd watch a normal television show, minus an hour, because most TV shows are about 10 episodes per season, so that's about 10 hours of television. So I definitely recommend the first 2 seasons. I didn't really like the third season. I felt like it took a huge decline in storytelling, writing. I felt like it came back to a true to form with The Abominable Bride, which was a special that they did about a year ago. I loved that special. I thought it was excellent. The storytelling, the writing was incredible. And it got me really pumped for Season 4. I couldn't wait to see. They ended with a cliffhanger, and I couldn't wait to see how it carried on into this season. How I feel about this season now. I'll review each episode specifically, but I'm not going to give away any spoilers, and I'm going to try to be as vague as possible. After the cliffhanger of Season 3 and going into Season 4, I felt like there wasn't really a huge, nothing really carried over. It didn't wait. I mean, it is mentioned, and there are stuff that people are like, this might be happening. But at least with that episode 1, I felt like it was kind of a drag, and it got a little boring kind of as the episode went along. I feel like the episode didn't really kick off or get really great until maybe the last 20 minutes when we got basically a twist, but the twist wasn't even that great, and it ends with kind of a shocking kind of conclusion, and I like the way that happens. I like the way that it carried on to episode 2 and 3, but as far as that episode went, I feel like episode 1 was definitely what I didn't like about Sherlock. I felt like it was a continuation of what Season 3 was doing. I mean, Benedict Cumberbatch is great, and he's an excellent Sherlock, but when he's not faced with challenges, and he's not faced, where I really feel like he is up against the wall, and he is trying his hardest to solve these crimes, and there's, a real challenge, and even he, this brilliant man, can't even solve them, it's not doing that well. Sherlock needs to be challenged, and what I really liked about this show is when he is challenged, and he may not be able to solve the crime. Usually in Sherlock, there is an episode that stands out. There are 3 episodes per season, each being an hour and a half long, but there's always usually an episode that are better than the other 2, that are clearly the standouts to me as far as the show goes, and usually it's the last episode of the season. In Season 1, we had the Moriarty episode. In Season 2, we had the other Moriarty episode. In Season 3, we had the last episode where we kind of give Mary's backstory, and these to me are the better episodes of Sherlock. But for me in Season 4, Episode 2 is probably the best one. This is the one where we actually have weighted consequences. And what I mean by weighted consequences, I mean things actually carry over from the last episode. After the big twist at the end of the first episode, our characters are broken. Things are now bad. Things are not happening. Sherlock is essentially damaged and destroyed, and we kind of see his psyche and how he's not completely there. He's back on drugs. It's just a mental breakdown, and he's eventually trying to solve crimes. This episode involves basically a woman coming to him and saying that her father basically committed a murder, but her father drugged her so she can't remember, and they're trying to solve it while Sherlock's on drugs, and he can't really remember what's going on. And the way that it's done, it's just excellent. I thought this whole episode was great from start to end. It even ends in a great spot. And things just kept kind of building, and it carries over from the previous episodes. It carries over from The Abominable Bride, and everything kind of comes to fruition in this second episode. My problem is when we get to the third episode, the final problem. And the problem with this one is, I want to say, weight. See, the second episode ends with such a great cliffhanger, and going into episode 3, I was really hoping that the cliffhanger carried on really into episode 3, but about 5 minutes in the episode, they drop it. It didn't really matter, basically, and it didn't really have any consequences, and that's probably what I don't like about this season of Sherlock. It doesn't feel like things carry over that much, and that they're basically forgotten after about a couple of minutes. They reveal a big character, and this is where I think the episode gets great. After the first 5 minutes, I really started to like the episode, and it builds and builds and builds. And eventually they're even captured by a new character, and the new character essentially makes them go through about 3 problems while they're captured, and they have to solve these 3 cases really fast, or people are going to die. And as they're solving this, I thought this was all excellent. This was great storytelling. This was great problem solving for Sherlock, having to solve these problems while he's raced against the clock or people are actually going to die. And there was real consequences. They're building and building and building, and things are getting greater and greater and greater. They just drop it. The last 10 minutes, it's basically, oh, it's done, and we've solved season 4. And I didn't like this. I didn't like that there was enough weight in the show. I didn't feel like Sherlock was challenged enough. I didn't feel like that there was a villain like Moriarty. Like, I miss Moriarty really being in the show. He could essentially, he was just as good. He could beat him if he wanted to. I never felt like this. I felt like Sherlock always had, I mean, it does get kind of risky in the final problem during the 3rd episode, but they've come to expect now with this show. But I wanted more weight. I wanted it to be more climactic. If you're already watching the show and you're a big fan, I would say to continue watching. You're definitely going to enjoy aspects of season 4. Episode 2 is where the show gets really great, but you do have to watch the last 20 minutes of the first episode of season 4 to really appreciate certain aspects of that episode. The show as a whole, but after about episode 2, or after season 2, I feel like you don't really need to carry on with the show, except to watch The Abominable Bride. The Abominable Bride is great, but you can kind of avoid season 3 if you want. I didn't really like that season, and I felt like it was a big letdown for the show as a whole. I'll have a review for you guys for a series of unfortunate events. I'm working on that right now, but I haven't finished the show yet. I'm about halfway through the show. It's getting really kind of hard to do it because so many movies are coming out, and so many shows like Gotham's now back on air, so I'm kind of watching that. Not doing a review for that, though. If you want to see more television reviews, let me know. A review from Ryan J. will brighten your day.